My name is Nefeshi Israel. I'm the Director of Programs here at CA for the Arts. Thank you to our team that has joined us, and we will kind of go over some of the team members in just a moment. I see Eddie, I see Jenica. Thank you all for hopping on here. And as you see on this welcome slide, we have, please introduce yourself in the chat. Share your the name of your indigenous land. I currently reside in the Central Valley in Fresno and am on Yokuts land. And just to note that this event is being recorded. All of the slides and everything, the webinar, the slides, the recording and resources will be shared out. And along with, during this time, Jenica will be sharing things in the chat as well. So you'll receive some links in the chat. And let's go ahead to that next slide there, please. All right. These are some of our guidelines, but before I go over the guidelines, I do want to do a quick acknowledgement. Before we begin today, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the devastating fires that are affecting Los Angeles and surrounding communities. I imagine many of you have been impacted by these fires, and our hearts go out to everyone impacted by the crisis, including those who have lost homes, businesses, and most importantly, loved ones. We're deeply grateful for the firefighters, first responders, and volunteers who are working tirelessly to protect lives and contain fires. Their bravery and dedication inspires us all. As members of the arts community, we know the power of connection and collective action, and we stand in solidarity with our neighbors in LA and are committed to supporting recovery efforts in any way that we can. So we just wanted to acknowledge that and take a moment. And here you see our webinar guidelines. If you have questions are welcome at all times. This is more so for a webinar, but this is set up like a meeting, so you can add your questions in the chat. Please feel free to do that at any point. We'll try to acknowledge those questions while we go along. We ask that you avoid buzzwords and explain references and acronyms so that we all have a clear understanding, collective understanding. And then please be respectful of your fellow advocates here today by honoring perspectives in the chat. And if you're comfortable speaking up at any point, you can enter comments again in the chat. Feel free to also, if during our Q&A time near the end, to raise your hand, and we should have some time to discuss any questions that you may have. Let's go ahead to that next slide there.
How are you, Jordan?
All right, these are just a few little like protocol things, just so that everyone knows. If you need closed captioning, there is that option on your Zoom screen. You can hit the box that says CC, the button that says CC there, and you can turn on and off at any point. If you click the up symbol, you can adjust your caption settings. And if you need to, if you have not done so, update your Zoom version. Even if you don't do it right now, you can do it later at another time. Let's go ahead to that next slide. I think we have some more Zoom tips here for you. These are your view options. If you are interested in seeing your screen make your screen look a little bit different, you can click view at the upper right corner, hit the side-by-side option, and you'll see it. You can see the picture there, and you can actually drag that over the little gray, it's actually circled there, it's a little gray bar. You can drag it over to make the images smaller or bigger, to see the slide deck a little bit better. And let's go ahead to that next slide there. All right, many of you probably already know CA for the Arts and our partnering organization, CA Arts Advocates. CA Arts Advocates, as you see there, is our lobbying organization. That's a 501c4. We do lobbying for the arts in California. And then we have CA for the Arts, which many of you, I'm sure, are probably more familiar with, which is our statewide advocacy programming services and networking. So those two organizations work kind of hand in hand, but they are also very separate. You can go ahead to that next slide there. And this is our team. If any of our team members want to wave, say hi, feel free. I saw some team members in the chat or in the room. Tracy's waving. Thank you so much. I saw Eddie there, Jenica. If you've probably interacted with some of our team, but we'd like to show our faces so that you can know who is behind the work. And we are a small but mighty team of, is that 10 people? Sure is. 10 people. Go ahead to that next slide there. And we have some board members here too today. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for your service as board members that are in the room today. And to talk a little bit more about what we're all here for, we're planning for Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. This is the 2000, let's see, 7th. I was looking like, is this the 7th? I wanted to make sure, but we started in 2019. As you see here, is California State Senate in a concurrent resolution proposed that we would hold April as a celebration of arts and culture every April. And this year we're doing, we planned the theme this year for health, healing, and hope. You'll learn more about it during this time. But it is a very opportune time for this theme, given, as I stated, the state of the state and our country. It's something I think that we need to be thinking about: health, healing, and hope. And so we're excited to extend that to our community and to also recognize artists as second responders. You can go ahead to that next slide there. And again, health, healing, and hope is our theme this year. Our team came together last summer, I want to say, and that was the theme that we felt was really important and pertinent to the time. And so we are happy that that is the decision and that we're focusing on health, healing, and hope. At the summit, we'll be focusing on that. And hopefully in your activating local, you can take some of this toolkit and really begin to implement health, healing, and hope in your local communities. All right. So if you're a member, then you should have received, and some of you that may not be members probably received information that we do have member only pre-sale tickets. Please check out the chat. I think that we should have a link in the chat if you're interested in registering for the summit early. We have our pre-sales open until February 3rd, and then it'll go open to the general public on February 4th. Members at the $250 level get access to discounted pricing, $50 off your summit ticket price. And you'll see a variety of other discounts for members on the webpage. Our team has put together an incredible webpage that super proud of. And we're using a new app this year called Stova. So that will be rolled out as we lead up to the summit for networking purposes and for people to learn more about the summit in a very clear way. And you can go ahead to that next slide there. And I didn't give the date, but April 22nd is the summit. And I'm going to pass the metaphoric microphone over to Tracy, our field engagement director, to talk a little bit more about Arts Advocacy Day.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us and thinking ahead for April all the way here in January. Arts Advocacy Day is also a key event, a keystone event for us in April, because April is also budget negotiation month. So for those of us who can join us in the Capitol, both for the summit on the 22nd and Advocacy Day on the 23rd, that's great. Or you can just come to Advocacy Day or the summit. But what happens at Advocacy Day for folks that haven't joined us before, we have a rally with speakers and elected officials, etc. Usually a very artful, musical march to the legislator offices. And then we organize in small groups to sit down with your legislators and talk through the impacts you're facing, the policies we're advocating for, and for you to develop personal connections to your state lawmakers. Californians for the Arts, California Arts Advocates, our lobbying organization, we provide all the resources. Captains for Advocacy Day will do the scheduling and prepare the groups ahead of time, and then you have talking points that you can build on and share your personal stories, etc. And I was going to say next slide, but I am the slide person. But Advocacy Day, and you'll be registering for that through the Stova, the Summit website, etc. But we also are supporting in our Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month through our Activate toolkits, supporting meetings that with your lawmakers, if you want to have those in district or on Zoom. So the Activate State Lawmakers Toolkit, which is rolling out next, has the same resources for scheduling, requesting meetings, organizing meetings, and having really effective relationship building conversations with your lawmakers. So stay tuned for that toolkit to come out, and we'll be going through that in the webinar on February 20th. And additionally, the other ACCM ACCM, Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month toolkit that we do every year is our media toolkit, which we're calling Activate the Public. And that has social media, graphics to share, posters, press releases, and all kinds of tools and resources. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later in the webinar. And just save the date for our Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month webinars. Activate the State Lawmakers Toolkit coming up in February. Activate the Public Toolkit in March, and in April, Get Ready to Advocate. That's when we talk about, give kind of the background information on the budget context, what's going on the state level, what are the policies we're recommending that we advocate for with us and our coalition partners, et cetera. What are the talking points and strategies we're using? That's kind of all the background material for going in to meet with state lawmakers, whether you join us for Advocacy Day or you organize your own meetings as a district captain. And so today's webinar is to review our brand new Activate Locally ACCM toolkit. And this toolkit, and having it come out in January, is really building on our Proclamation toolkit from previous years. We quarterly have a members only or members lunch picnic where we meet at lunch hour for casual conversations to find out what kind of programs and things folks are interested in. And one of the big takeaways from our very first member picnic was that folks wanted to start organizing for Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month earlier. And so with that in mind, and with some of the content and tools and resources folks were seeking to get organized earlier, we've created the Activate Locally toolkit. And we touch on ideas and tips for building a local network if you don't yet have one, developing talking points and shared messaging with branded assets, how to engage local ideas and tips for engaging local officials in Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month, and of course our Proclamation resources, which we'll go into, and press events and celebrations you might organize, or developing shared marketing platforms to feature everything that's happening in April in your community under the banner of Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. And the toolkit also has a page that links out again to all the webinars and resources that are linked within the toolkit. So starting first, would love to hear from you all in the chat. If you, how many of you already have a designated network or a leader who leads the charge of bringing the community together when it comes to arts advocacy or cross-promoting arts events, et cetera? We'd love to get a sense in terms of the depth going into this particular slide, how deep we should go. So folks could, I guess, use the raise hand feature, or if you want to notate in the chat, that would be great. And I'll just touch on some points in this slide, because we know some communities do have existing networks and some don't. So if you're interested in building a network or taking the lead on that, really recommend some of the tips from the folks that work in collective impact. For those of us that are really busy, when we're asked to get together as a group, a lot of us really want to know, what is the purpose? What's the focus? And one of the tips is really identifying what kind of network would this be if you were building it? A social network, a learning network. Hi, Patricia. With that focuses on sharing information and developing a community of practice. Oh, great. Thank you for responding to the question. Action networks, folks that want to come together, learn on issues and take action together. And movement networks, connecting networks across your region, across your city, to work collaboratively and collectively on a long-term maybe goal or impact. And so clarifying the purpose, really recommend for folks in arts and culture to make sure that your network really represents the arts ecosystem in your community. Does it include artists? Does it include cultural traditions leaders? Does it include informal and formal organizations? Who are you bringing to the table? And cultivating trust by establishing shared values and goals, and coordinating actions, having folks come together and feel like, oh yeah, we're actually doing something together, and collaborating generously. And we really feel that Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month as just a goalpost in the year is a great opportunity to bring together people towards a shared purpose. And we really hope to support that cultivation of networks and shared action through this toolkit and in future years. And the toolkit links out to additional resources, the underlined items. And so, and one of the other ideas that came, actually, I want to just a nod, a shout out to Rachel Osajima, a former long-term board member and now an advisory board member from the county of Alameda. She said that she gave me the idea that really developing within your network shared talking points. And if we think about talking points as a 1 or 2 sentence phrase that really conveys the value of the arts, working together as a network to develop shared talking points that you use in your city or your county or your region, 4 to 6 points, and using the same ones in different conversations with elected officials, in your press releases, in your printed material, etc., can be a really powerful way to educate, motivate, change attitudes, change the way people think about the value of the arts if they are hearing a repeated message shared collectively. And so we've got some resources to support developing shared talking points if you don't already have them. And one of the strategies we really recommend is thinking about value frameworks that are important to your community. If you live in a community where public safety is really important, where community pride, economic development and jobs, etc., explore some of these value frameworks like health and well-being or social impacts, economic impacts, or placemaking, placekeeping. How do the arts make our community unique, stimulate pride, etc.? Those value frameworks are a great place to start in determining what should our different talking points cover in terms of this value conversation. And additionally, if you have access to data to back up what you're saying, that's really rich for decision makers. Whether you might have some economic impact data, or you can pull from the state level data that we provide. And then again, using those talking points repeatedly and consistently. This this toolkit links out to a document that has examples of talking points as well as these resources, and asks you, we would like to crowdsource talking points that you are using in your community, knowing that we don't have all the answers, we don't have all the ideas, you all are on the ground making it happen. We'd love to learn from you. So hopefully that would be a useful resource, and if you want to contribute to it, that would be great, and we can learn from each other. I just really quickly want to show you, though, a great resource for developing talking points. It's the Arts Impact Explorer from Americans for the Arts, and it links out in your toolkit. And so again, thinking about your value framing, like what's important to your community. I would like a talking point to help describe how the arts help our aging or our elders in our community. And you can click on this, get a talking point there, click more, and get some data and research, etc., fact sheets. This is an amazing resource developed by Americans for the Arts, and I really recommend you explore the Social Impact Explorer in terms of developing your own talking points and just having a go-to resource for data and framing and messaging. Back to the show here. And then another way that we love to support a unified shared messaging for you and your community is through the Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month brand kit. We'll be dropping in logos for Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. You can add to your printed materials or digital materials. We have a poster, Zoom backgrounds, etc. You can add your logo to, but if you just want to build kind of a visual brand, or essentially a unified visual reference that folks might see in different points of the community to say that, hey, we're a part of this statewide effort. We're part of this statewide resolution that the state made honoring. We're going to be dropping in things in the brand kit to support that. Additionally, we have the Activate Public Toolkit that's going to be coming out that I referenced earlier, a social media campaign for posts to do weekly with graphics and captions, the press release, posters, stickers, and more. So, and ask that you use shared hashtags so we can find each other in social media. And let me see, I know I wanted to take some questions at some point. Yeah, now is my questions point. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Feel free to raise your hand. You can speak up at any time if you have a question, because we opted for a meeting format so that we could be conversational with each other. So feel free to speak up at any time.
I have a question. I really appreciate this toolkit because as somebody who wants to organize more with art organizations for this event, this huge month, I'd love these kind of statewide talking points. I'm wondering, how do you recommend like finding like-minded arts, culture, and creativity month people in our zip code, so to speak, like where we are? In my case, in Oakland.
Oh, that's a great question. I've got some thoughts on that, and I also would open the floor up to other folks in the webinar. If anybody else has any ideas for Patricia, how do we find each other, right?
I
Oh,
am on Blue Sky, and that's a really easy way to find like-minded people.
yeah, yeah. Well, you can definitely reach out to us, and we have folks within our database or relationship with folks in your community, possibly potentially already relationships with folks in your communities. One of the really great kind of backbones to our work are the captains, our Advocacy Day captains who come from different legislative districts across the state. They can also be really great point people, and really recommend connecting with what are called what would be your local arts council, either on the county level. I believe it's they all have different the county of Alameda, Rachel Osajima, her team. They're called, and a good way to find those folks, your local arts council. You might have a city level arts council, but on a county level, I'm sorry, I'm going to say the word council several times, so apologize if it gets confusing. We have our statewide arts funding agency, California Arts Council, right? They have a program called State and Local Partners, and those we call SLPs. Those are county arts agencies that partner with the CAC. And so the CAC, oh, I'm sorry, California Arts Council, I'm calling it CAC. So you can find your county, state, and local partner on the California Arts Council website and reach out to them. They're kind of the glue, if we're in our on the county level, in terms of arts communities. And if anybody has any other ideas on that, it's such a great question, because that's the work that we're trying to do, is build networks of people. So any way we can support that, we want to help. So if anybody has other thoughts, please put them in the chat. Thank you. Or reach out to Patricia directly. All right, so elected
Tracy, really quickly, I think we
Yeah.
have the time. Amanda just put in the chat, is there any sort of online listing or directory available through CA for the Arts? And that might be something to develop. If not, it's something we've talked about, and I don't know if you want to kind of lean into that and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you. That we are exploring that right now, like how to create a digital community. Jenica, Jenica Bisbee, our field engagement coordinator, who is on the webinar with us, is exploring that, and we're exploring Slack, a couple of other options, and we definitely will keep you posted. We think that that feels like a real important next level for us in terms of connecting people and being that conduit for connecting people. So thank you for demonstrating the need for that and the desire for that, and we'll keep you posted as we roll it out. And thank you for flagging stuff in the chat for me. Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month is also a great time to get involved, engaged with your local elected officials, your city council members, your county board of supervisors, even school boards who are really arts forward and thinking and approaching. So the toolkit has some tips on how to build relationships with them, and also tips for how to engage with them in Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. Again, if you've got the talking points, or you can just start a conversation. You don't have to have formal talking points, but it's a great way to sit down and tell them about the value of Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month, invite them to help in getting a proclamation, and we'll talk about proclamations next. You can gift them with Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month ACCM swag, like posters and things that we'll be rolling out, or invite them to your events during April, or agree to show up to their events. There's ways to partner to say this is a statewide initiative, and I really want our community to be on the map in terms of participating. And again, asking for a local proclamation from your city or county is a really great actionable an item that an elected official can partner with you on. And in terms of relationship building, really recommend finding out what's important to them. What committees are they on? What are they saying in social media, et cetera, and meeting them at their value within their value framework too. And attend their events, show up to support them, say thank you, let them know you're noticing the work that they're accomplishing on behalf of your district. Or if you're not in a district, your city or county. And the next level, you might want to consider, if you do have a network or you're working to establish a network, mapping relationships with local elected officials. Who within your community has a connection to decision makers and civic leaders, so that you can, when it comes time to galvanize around an issue like a cut to arts funding on a local level, you've got folks who can go and have direct conversations, as well as whatever grassroots efforts you might undertake. Sorry, let me. And then I'm going to pass it over to Nefesha to talk about proclamations.
All right. And I see a few more things in the chat. We can definitely hop back to the chat. I'm going to dive into proclamations, and then we can discuss some more things that are popping up in the chat. But yeah, if you are interested, and hopefully everyone on here is, in getting a proclamation passed, we do have a proclamation guide. It's a 2-page guide with a lot of information in it. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I will highlight a few things for the proclamations, and hopefully we'll take a minute to ask a few questions from you all in the room. But proclamations are issued by a board of supervisors or the mayor to honor, celebrate, or create awareness of an event, milestone, or achievement. And for ACCM, in many ways, it's creating an awareness and building a lot of momentum. Again, in 2019, Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month was declared by the California Senate in a concurrent resolution to be celebrated in April, to be held every April, to recognize and celebrate the arts in California. And these proclamations are, typically the reason for issuing the proclamations are to recognize an event, as we said, or even socializing language and building public awareness. I know for me, for example, in the Central Valley, is something that's needed so that we know, that everyone in the community knows that ACCM is ACCM, and it's time to, in many ways, celebrate the arts. It's a time where we can celebrate it, and our community, even if they're not in the arts, can be involved. The proclamation request is typically drafted with 5 to 8 whereas statements, and we have a sample proclamation that we'll be sharing, I believe, in the chat, so you can get a good idea, and it can be adapted to fit your community. One thing that I wanted to also point out with the proclamations is it helps with collecting or sharing out data with impact, and also some data around things like jobs and the value the arts bring to your community, along with testimonials. Adding that is also very helpful, and it's also a way that you can bring your community together to celebrate the passing of the proclamation. And I think that most of what I just went over is there on that slide. One thing that I do want to point out is that it can take up to 3 months. So get your proclamation request in now or sooner than later, because it's February now. So a couple months from now will be in April. So make sure you're working on it, getting it in, and speaking to your local city council and your mayor if you're connected with them to get your proclamation passed. All right, you can go ahead to the next slide there. Here you can see the sample proclamation. You can download that when we send out the slides. Also, it'll be in the chat for you to easily access it and check it out. This is a photo of the Ventura County 2023 proclamation, and we are seeing proclamations passed every year for ACCM. I would love to know maybe some of your experience. How has has anyone done a proclamation in your local community? And if so, how has it helped with your local arts advocacy efforts or even organizing? If anyone wants to share their experience. Or we can get a hand raise. Has anyone done a proclamation in their city, or excuse me, their county? I see a few hands there.
I'll add a comment. I'm helped lead the one for Ventura County back in 2023, and one of the coolest things is when you do it, they read aloud the proclamation in a public meeting, so it goes on public record. And usually there's a little bit of fanfare, and different elected officials express their support and their angle on it, and that was really cool and galvanizing. In terms of that's one version. A public proclamation can be introduced in a public meeting and go on public record, or it can be introduced in a launch event, like a press event with a local mayor or local government. So, and we'll talk about that next, but that was really cool. Anybody else
Absolutely.
want to add their comment on their experience with proclamations?
I see Jennifer's hand raised. I don't know, Jennifer, if you want to hop in.
Hi all. Yeah, I was able to do it with Eddie's help actually in my hometown of Pasadena, and we got the mayor's proclamation, and it was helpful for me to sort of energize my local network, my local arts commission, the people who weren't really, kind of all in until I had this formal proclamation, and it helped to kind of start conversations in a way that I hadn't had access to previously. So I would recommend doing it. You have to be a little organized. You have to do it sort of early because they need time, but I would recommend doing it just, as soon as this kit is available, download it and just follow the steps, and it will really open a lot of doors for you.
Yeah.
And we ask you to request a download of the proclamation so we can track who's requesting it and follow up with you to see if it happened, if we can get pictures, things like that, because we really want to map the growth, the expansion of this. In Ventura County 2023, the county did it. In 2024, 4 of our 10 cities did it. So we're seeing growth locally, and we'd love to be able to track that with you. Patricia, did you want to chime in too? Sorry, Nefesh, I'm just jumping
Oh
in.
no, you're good. You're good.
I just wanted to say that we did a proclamation for our 20th anniversary, and another benefit is you are making yourself known to the people that give you grants. So if you get a county grant and the proclamation has come from the county, it's like a double bonus because they know more of what you're doing. And we found that very helpful the next year in getting a grant.
Great.
That is great advice.
And just one other
but-
note, those talking points that you come up with can be the statements move into your proclamation. Whereas arts work to heal, build community, engage youth, and advance justice, la-di-da. So the talking points can go right into your proclamation language.
Excellent. I also see Ted's comment in the chat, and I think it's an important one to point out. It's amazing how much local press the proclamations can generate from the same media. It's challenging to get arts coverage from most of the time. And it's very true. I've seen it happen with proclamations. people get excited over it, and the media will come out, media will support, or even if you share it. I think we're going to talk about the press events next, and I'll get into that. Also, Peter from SJ Arts Advocates. Good to see you, Peter. Haven't met with you since I think last year. If let's see, if your city or county has an arts or culture department, be sure to coordinate with them. There could be a proclamation already in works. Really good point. So be sure to check with them. Like Tracy talked about our SLPs throughout the state. You would want to reach out to them and see.
Okay.
All right. And then here we have our ACCM press events and celebrations. And so this, again, if you do a proclamation, it's really great to pair it in many ways with this press event celebration. I know a few organizations throughout the state have done these press events, done these celebrations. We do also try to track them. And Tracy, the press event and the event agenda or press event agenda, those are not downloads. Those are just links, right? They're link outs on there. So like the
They're
proclamation,
downloads.
you have to download it. Those are
They're-
downloads too?
They're documents you can review and download. You can use them as a
Okay,
template. Yeah, they're editable.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So those are resources for you all here in this toolkit to access the press events. You can bring, again, talking about building relationships, organizing, thinking about who would you want at this press event, who are the people that you would want to, the legislators, the policymakers, your local arts organizations, or even and especially artists in your city. Bringing them together is incredibly helpful with spreading the word of ACCM throughout the state. I'll pause here, and if there's any questions around the press event or having a celebration in your local city or county, please feel free to hop in, raise your hand, or ask. Or if you want to share an experience. I know last year in San Diego, well, I wasn't actually there, but I know because Julie was there, our CEO, and there was dancing, there was a presentation, and we can also support to an extent with helping to, again, with this like the sample launch event press release and the press event agenda. All right, let's go ahead to that next slide there. And these are pictures. That's the picture from San Diego that I mentioned of the ballet dancing, and then also the San Bernardino press event in 2024. And you can see them there with the proclamation. I'm just giving some images there. And Naomi in the chat, before we go to we can keep that slide up. Does it have to be reapplied for every year? And I believe so for a proclamation. You're going to want to do the process each year.
Yeah, you're right. In the guide, we recommend not doing an evergreen a proclamation, but doing it annually so that you have, as the other folks commented, an opportunity to galvanize elected officials, an opportunity to get annual press, just to get that attention, that momentum, to be at the table in conversation. We recommend doing it every year. You can do an evergreen one, but we recommend, just in terms of visibility and value and impact, to do it every year.
Mm-hmm. Before I go over the slide, Miguel, I see your hand up. Did you want to ask anything or say?
Yeah, I wanted to know if maybe you mentioned it, but where can I find a list of all the jurisdictions that have taken the step of getting these proclamations approved?
We could provide a list. We could add who did it last year to the guide. So folks, maybe that could be an edit that we can do, because it's live and we can keep improving and iterating. However, because people renew every year, the best course would be to coordinate with, I think it was Peter or someone recommended, I'm sorry, I don't have access to the chat because I'm sharing, recommended contacting your local state and local partner, your local county arts council, arts agency, or arts commission, and finding out through them as well if anyone's pursuing it currently in your community. And Miguel, if you still don't get that question answered, feel free to email me. Our contact information will be at the end of the webinar, and we can help you connect with other folks in your community.
Great. Yeah, thank you. That would be useful in the sense that when we approach or decision makers, we can say, well, the county next door has already
Oh,
enacted this proclamation. So it's not rocket science or it's not innovation. It's not like we're inventing the wheel. I think that could help us to make a case locally because I'm in Riverside County. So when you said San Bernardino County, I was like, whoa, okay, they're ahead of us. And
yeah.
that would be very helpful to make a case.
Yeah, that's a
So that's why I
really,
was asking.
yeah, that's a great idea. I love the way that you're thinking about this. And and also to remind everyone, if you did do a proclamation, it's really important to follow through on that confirmation with us so that we can do this mapping and be that resource for everybody. So thank you for flagging that. Speaking of Riverside,
Speaking of Riverside, this is this slide promote ACCM activities with shared marketing. Many of you are talking about organizing, coming together, and I really like this quote here: "Join forces to build a bigger bullhorn." We've seen it happen, and sometimes with organizing, it starts off with, all right, we got our proclamation this year. Next year, we're going to do this launch event, or maybe we're going to do a host of things, all in one year. But it's about just getting a few things done. Just as we all know, when it comes to advocacy, it's a long game. And so we have Riverside Arts and Culture Month highlighted here, along with Fremont Creates. They both organizations have come together. It's people from the community coming together to create kind of a coalition to celebrate ACCM. And last year we were able to spotlight, Fremont Creates, which you'll see when you receive this toolkit. There's a link out. You can watch it on YouTube. And it's a group of 4 women that came together. And they have been able to recruit people from their community, younger people, also to like work on their website and really create like a force of energy within their community to build excitement around the arts. And so shared marketing creates a nice big bullhorn, and the community will hear that bullhorn very clearly. Some of the things that we have here as examples of shared marketing are the press release, like we talked about, putting an ad in your local newspaper, featuring the events and activities that are coming up throughout April. They could be some things that are specific around ACCM, and then maybe there are things that artists are doing and other creatives are doing that are part of your kind of organizing group. Create a public calendar with listings, partner with your local tourism board to promote ACCM. Peter gave that advice already, to talk to your arts councils and see what they're doing, and see where you can get involved also or support if they're already doing some things. And develop a shared website. Websites are a key way now, as we all know, to communicate ideas and activities that are happening. And so that could also be an option, is to develop that ACCM website. And then we have the ACCM logo for, that you can share on your posters or your advertising, that will also be here in this toolkit. So be thinking about, how can you come together? How can you build that momentum? How can you build a bigger bullhorn? And Tracy, back to you.
great. Thank you, Peter, for the note on Linktree. I'm going to write that down. Great. Thank you, everyone. Just some ways to stay connected with us if you're new to us. And if in your toolkit, you'll be able to link out to register, to get more information and register for the Summit and Advocacy Day at the Capitol in April. Recommend that you subscribe and confirm your subscription to our e-news. We have a monthly newsletter that will always chock full of opportunities, including jobs and funding and what's happening, program updates, etc. And then we also have our action alerts through California Arts Advocates. Like right now, currently, we're asking folks to send a letter to your legislators, congratulating them on their election in November, and welcoming them to the new legislative calendar, and introducing yourself and just building that relationship. So stay subscribing and staying in touch. We've got these just real easy things that you can do that make a really big difference. And just as a note, both for Advocacy Day or having meetings with your legislators in April in your district or on Zoom, or participating in actions, 25% of the state legislature is new. They're freshmen. They're new to the game. So we are starting from ground zero in educating, connecting, building relationships. So we'd really love for your participation in advocacy and to support you in making it as easy and rewarding and satisfactory. So it's an open door in terms of we put things out there for you to participate in. We always want your feedback on their effectiveness and how we impact your ability to participate. So just larger invitation to subscribe. And of course, becoming a member. We are fueled by individual and organizational support, folks that support either our California for the Arts, which is a traditional 501c3, that's a tax deductible donation. This is your advocacy movement building network that when California for the Arts and your support makes our programs and toolkits and resources free. Or if supporting California arts advocates, your lobbying voice in Sacramento, that is 24/7, 365 days a week. Julie and her team and our lobbyist having conversations, sitting down with legislators, meeting with state agencies. We could really continue to use that support and that very powerful, potent element to making large, significant change on the state level. Next slide, Tracy. Okay. Oh, and there's my contact information. Should you have some follow-up questions or want to be in conversation about anything in the toolkit. And we want to thank our sponsors of Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month who are making the summit, the Toolkit, Advocacy Day, the Toolkits, Advocacy Days, etc. Possible. Nafesha, anything to add there?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank you to our sponsors. As you see here, some amazing sponsors, and we're continuing to reach out to potential sponsors. If anyone knows sponsors that would be interested, this is a great way for them to also share out about their organization, and we're able to work with our sponsors to really create packages that are not just transactional, but really meaningful for both organizations, ourselves and the sponsor. And so just wanted to share that we're continuing to raise funds for ACCM, along with including the summit and Advocacy Day. And it does come with a cost, and that's a reality, but it also comes with the benefit of really impacting and shedding light on the arts and culture industry here in California. So just wanted to share that, and thank you for that space to do so, Tracy.
All right, cool. Just a closing encouragement to join us, and I'm gonna shut down the slide deck just to open the room up for more conversation and questions.
Tracy, there was one in the chat that I didn't get to touch on. Jennifer had she said, "Hi there, could we do some form of opting into Advocacy Day extra early, perhaps?" That seemed to pull a lot of info that helped CAA to match me and others to what we wanted to achieve during our in-person advocacy. And I know that we have, hopefully this answers the question, and maybe Tracy you can add to it, but I know that we have early registration open right now. And when you register, you can also register for Advocacy Day or to become a captain. Yeah, but just wanted to answer that. And Jennifer, if that does not answer your question, please interject. And Tracy, if you have any additions that you want to share there, please do.
Yeah. Every year we look, we analyze everybody's experience. We have surveys, et cetera, and we iterate and make improvements. And one of the things that we're focusing on this year is actually advocating and organizing, recruiting and organizing captains. We're creating a captain corps, and captains will also be eligible for a discounted ticket to the summit. And the reason we're leaning on and building this captain network is what we found is that if folks are able to organize and schedule their meetings based on their travel schedule in Sacramento, et cetera, and we're going to close registration for advocates earlier this year so that captains know who's going to be in those meetings and they've got adequate time to connect everyone and have everyone feel prepared and ready to go and ready to have a good time. So we're really focusing on organizing all of that earlier, which I hope speaks to your question. And if it doesn't, I'd love to hear if you've got more questions in there, and anyone else as well. But great point, great question. Anyone? Hi, Anne.
Hi, Tracy. How are you?
Good.
I'm so sorry I got here late. I hope I'll get all the slides and stuff, but just quick question, and maybe you've answered this. Is it okay to have co-captains for this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great idea. And we'll have that Activate State Lawmakers. The actual webinar will be February 20th and have the toolkit and for that whole process for captaining, both for folks, again, if you want to organize meetings in your community on Zoom or in your legislator's office, or if you come to the Capitol. And just to encourage folks, it is not hard. It's actually surprisingly easy. And anybody who's done it before wants to weigh in on that, how much fun and revelatory it was to realize like, oh, I can do this. I would love to hear from you, but in terms of captaining.
So I can talk quickly. I don't want to jump in front of anybody, but I was the de facto captain last year for my county because I was the only one. So I'm working very hard in my county to get a bigger group of people this year. But anyway, yes, it was fun. I was so motivated. I got to talk one-on-one with my elected officials and their staff, and talk about my individual company, but also the broader picture. And I can't tell you how motivating it was to realize, that we have a voice and we shouldn't be afraid. And even the staff in these offices were like, we want to hear from you. Please come talk to us anytime. We're just people like you are, even though we're down here in Sacramento. So just come and, and I realized that my voice did make a difference last year in some significant ways. And it just was so empowering. And so I encourage everybody to get involved if you're able or in your county, or do anything you can to support the arts in the state of California. Thank you.
Great, great. Thanks. And I just love how inspiring it is to have Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month, and just as a whole as a month of changing the conversation, shifting the paradigm, bringing attention and visibility to what you all are making happen in your communities, how that can flow into these, really tangible policy and relationship building results. So we're very excited about the continuum of supporting you all, engaging starting now in getting ready for Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month, and see where it goes in your community. Oh, great. I'm curious about specific policy agendas for Advocacy Day generally. Is it adding budget funding to state and local grant programs, creating new tax policies? Ooh. Great. I am in the interest. Thank you, Miguel. Liz, I would love to talk about that. I think we have a whole webinar on where we will be by April I believe it's April 4th, about what we will be advocating for, because right now we're really analyzing the situation. The governor just issued a budget in January, looking at what's in it, what's not in it, studying kind of the reports on the tax rolls and the revenues and what's going to be happening, and then leaning into what are the specific policy asks that we should be working on. This Friday, I believe, is the deadline for legislators to introduce bills. So we're working with a couple of legislative offices on some specific potential specific bills that maybe they could introduce and we could help sponsor. So a lot of it is in flux right now because the governor just announced the budget 2 weeks ago. So we'll be able to circle back on your question in a couple of weeks to a month or so. But yes, we'll always be asking for for additional funding for the California Arts Council to be distributed through local assistance grants. And we'll be always making the argument that we need investment in cultural districts and placemaking and creative youth development, supporting arts education and Prop 28 implementation, and other conversations that we need to have about the value that we deliver in different for lack of a better word right now, sectors. Like where is the cross sector partnerships where we're not just relying on funding through the California Arts Council, but opening other agencies up to partnering and funding arts, culture, and creativity. So, but that right now is very fluid, and we'll get back to you on some more specifics later. And Miguel, I see your hand raised. Thank you.
Yes, I just wanted to add that in the spirit of health, healing, and hope, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that April is also Public Health Month. In the second week of April, from the 7th through the 13th, it's Public Health Week. And this is, very common knowledge in public health. I work for a health department. So our interest is to raise that understanding of the connection between arts and culture and health. So maybe for some of you, you may find allies in public health departments, potentially, but we're just kind of exploring that at this point. LA County, I believe, they actually last year held an arts and health summit. So it's happening.
Nefesha, would you speak to our arts and health series? And I'm going to go get the link for the videos.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we've had an amazing series. If you have not been able to watch any of the videos, big shout out to our special consultant, Jennifer Kuo. She did an excellent job organizing this series. She is a researcher and just a great networker in many ways. So our Arts and Health series focused on how we can implement arts and health throughout our state. We had people tune in internationally and across the states, which was great to be in many ways putting California on the map, in addition to the work that's already been done, or just adding to that conversation and really socializing arts and health is an initiative that is a priority of ours. And we're doing a lot of organizing around it, which was, I think, influenced the health, healing, and hope theme this year, but also just recognizing the need for that within our communities has been really important. Miguel, thank you for pointing out that it's National Public Health Week, that first week, I think, of April, and I think you said National Public Health Month. We are working to connect with some of our healthcare providers throughout the state so that we could get the support and also the partnership of those institutions with our summit and with celebrating ACCM. And hopefully it will continue to, it'll be an ongoing relationship building process. And we have some goals as we move forward. We'll be doing some webinars. We actually have an arts and health guide that we're putting out soon. And we'll be doing a webinar probably after the summit. So that focuses on that guide, but the guide is really kind of a more exhaustive explanation of the initiative and some of the work that's happening across the states, but very, very focused on California, of how we can really, what we're thinking about is how the arts can be embedded in the healthcare process. But we know that the arts play a pivotal role in the healing and wellness of our communities across the state. So that is where we're at with that. And if anyone has that link, I don't know, Tracy, if you found it, but there is, okay, in the chat, it'll be dropped in there. Or she already did. Thank you, Tracy. There's a link with our video library, so you can check out the Arts and Health Initiative webinar series that took place in August and September, I believe.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on your Thursday lunch hour, and we will be sending a link to the recording, a link to the slide deck, and as well as you've got the sending the actual toolkit itself. And we look forward to hearing from you. And if you make any of these things happen, use any of these tools in your community, would love to hear back from you and learn from you and your experiences. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you to our team too for doing this, putting this together. Excellent work.